Messi, Ronaldo, which team suffers the most at this point, Barcelona or Juventus? Forget the financial part of it, because obviously Barcelona is in deep trouble.
I would say, Barcelona suffers more. I think that Juve, in a lot of ways, were ready to move on from
They're already
Ronaldo.
Suffering. Yeah.
Well, yeah, Juve did lose to Empoli, so there's that. But I would say that in the long term and maybe even the short term, Juventus needed to kind of shed Cristiano and to have to build around him for one more year, even though you knew he was going to leave at the end of the season. Now you can start to focus on other people. Messi, I think, was a bit more of a surprise. They still they've leaned on him for so many years. That's definitely a bigger loss.
I would agree with that.
Go ahead.
No.
Go ahead.
My main thing is that I agree with that only in the fact that there was just like a trigger that changed everything, right? There was this like souring of a club and a history of the greatest player ever, one of the greatest clubs of all time. And it just was this thing that was getting so bad that it had to happen. But then when it happened the way that it did, you're just like, there's just not a lot. I was actually going to ask both you guys, and you don't have to answer now, was if you're a player like Des, when players go to a club because of the player and the team and the magnitude of the club, do you think they look at it and go, oh man, this is a different place now? Like, or, I mean, it's still Barcelona, right? I don't want to, but like you're looking at it going like, this is a little bit different than what I thought I signed up for.
Forget Heath Pearce. Sergio Aguero, who literally played Barcelona.
That's fair, but I'm thinking through the lens of the U.S. in the sense of like this player
I know
wins.
you are. I know you are. I just think that it's more emphatic to think about his best friend.
Yeah.
Be like, I'm leaving Man City to move. I'm gonna have great times. We'll have like dinner Sunday nights. Oh, peace. Yeah. I'm out. Like that's massive. Like, hey,
I'm outside, man. I brought pizza. And he's like, hey, man.
Oh, great. Can you come over to Paris and send it over?
Yeah. The worst part, and by the way, they can go spend Sunday nights in Paris or anywhere they want at any time and be home by breakfast.
I don't feel too sorry for them. Yeah. That's great. Jimmy, let me ask you this. Which team benefits the most? PSG with Messi or Man United with Ronaldo?
I would say Manchester United for sure with Cristiano Ronaldo. I think he does actually fill a bit of a void for them. I saw Ole Gunnar speak about Ronaldo today after the game against Wolves, and he just said, we want to get him in the box. We want him on the end of stuff in the box. Pretty simple. Whereas Messi's a bit of a luxury buy, I think, for PSG. They already had Mbappe. They already have Neymar. They have Di Maria. I mean, they have plenty of players. Yeah, of course, they're not Messi, but they do the job, and they're very good. And they added some pieces that were already going to make them successful in the spine of the team with Sergio Ramos and Donnarumma and Wijnaldum, and then every time I watch Hakimi play, I still can't believe that Real Madrid let him go. Different conversation for another time, but they've done enough there, I think, to strengthen that team and make them Champions League contenders, not only regaining Liga.
Yeah, what do you think, Heath?
Yeah, I think it's the opposite, only because of the fact that you now have, like, when I look out in terms of like the biggest return over a season, it's going to come down to very few moments that they need to get results in games, squad rotation that we saw when Man City ran away. It was because of the depth of the squad, and Messi, obviously, you don't want it to be a Neymar situation where it's like for 7 games, he's gone and he comes back and they play him 20 minutes and you're like, what are you paying for? But now they have multiple players that you can say that same question and it doesn't look as bad. Whereas Ronaldo, get him in the box, get him into positions to score, I think is great. But there's still that risk is at what point is he going to be the center of attention, which is the moment he steps on the field? And therefore, everything around, all the other tools take time to adapt to one single player who, again, I think over time continues to have a more diminishing return in terms of how much attention he seeks, how the game has to be played around him, how his game has evolved, which has been spectacular. But just ultimately in the same way that Zlatan was, and you see now in Serie A without him, the team can play a little bit differently. When he's on, best player by far. But when he's not, the team plays a little more fluid, a little bit differently. So I still think PSG get more out of this because they've just had this unbelievable window. But yeah, I can't wait to see.
I just want to jump in and say with Cristiano really quick, Luis, I feel like when I watched United play against Wolves, and we're happy to segue into this game if you like, but they still lacked a bit of an identity in this particular game. And this could be an okay time for Ronaldo to insert himself into the conversation. Cavani, even though he got on the field late today, he hasn't started yet. So they're still trying to work out how Jadon Sancho can be most effective. Obviously, Mason Greenwood's put the team on his back and scored 3 goals in 3 games, which is great to see. He's going to need minutes as well. So how do you bring him in? What's that midfield going to look like? There's still a lot of question marks for this Manchester United team. Thankfully for them, they're still getting results because they do still have a little bit of that quality. And David De Gea made a couple of massive saves today. But I still feel like Cristiano Ronaldo when I look at Juve, you can tell Maxi Allegri wants to play a certain way, and Ronaldo probably doesn't fit into those plans. But when I look at United, I could still see a nice, wholesome place in the middle, or even if he drifts out wide left, where Ronaldo can find a nice, and he's going to be motivated too in a way that I don't think he maybe was with Juve. So I'm curious about this United one, just to play like devil's advocate.
No, I think it's a good point. Not to discount anything, which, by the way, I still think United is definitely a luxury buy, buying Ronaldo as well. Just because a few months ago, there were protesters outside Old Trafford because of the way the club was being run. All right, listen, let me ask you this. Which returning hero will have a greater impact on his team? Ronaldo or Lukaku, looking ahead?
I think Lukaku, only because of the fact that if you watched in this against Liverpool, and again, we don't have to get into it too much on that game just yet, but he found a way to provide just opportunities down a man to create goal-scoring chances. I think Ronaldo, from a business standpoint and all these things, is going to be unbelievable for the club. And to Jimmy's point, I think they are still missing some of these pieces that I think he can bring to this team. However, I still go back to I didn't know what Chelsea. I spent all last season wondering what Chelsea was missing. And then when Lukaku stepped on the field in a number of different circumstances, right? And against different teams, different styles of play, I'm like, that's the answer. And I don't think there's never been a time that I haven't gone looking deep into tactics or the depths of the internet to find an issue when you're looking at the rotation of Havertz and Pulisic and Mount and Werner and all these guys last year. And then you look and you go, okay, all those guys are now much better players having this guy around. So in terms of overall impact, that's who I'm going with.
Yeah,
I would say the same. I think Lukaku will probably have a bigger impact. I think in terms of filling a void, it was something that Chelsea lacked a little bit in some capacity last season. And now you have that out and out number 9. And you say that, right? And then you see Olivier Giroud score twice today for AC Milan, who was playing for them. You see Tammy Abraham absolutely blowing up for Roma, which I love to see. So it makes you wonder about what Tuchel did or didn't see in these guys. But I think pound for pound, obviously, Lukaku is one of the best number 9s in the world, if not the best, even though Lewandowski just had a hat trick. I mean, all the number 9s are blowing up right now. But there's something about his style in particular, and obviously his love for the club, that I think will help. It's a little bit different. When you love a club and your dream was to play for that club, and Ronaldo obviously coming back as a legend of the club, there's just a little different, something different that I think you feel different inside of yourself because you're playing for something that you really loved and adored.
Can I make one more point on that, Luis, real quick? The one thing I want to give Ronaldo credit for is going back to the Premier League with his reputation. No one that is at his level or at the height of their game goes there, because it is hard. And you have to scrap it. Like, you have a chance, you have to finish your chance. And I think obviously he came from the league and he understands it and he believes that he can dominate in it. But like the Messi to City thing and all that stuff, I think was close. But most players, and go even a tier down that don't spend most of their career there.
Zlatan wants a word with you, but go ahead.
Yeah. that is true. Most of them don't want to go there and push themselves. There's a number of players that are goal scorers or marquee players or world-class players, whatever you want to call them, that numbers would not be the same or the challenge is different. And so I have a ton of respect for him putting himself in that environment at a club, by the way, that people are now going to be well, now they've got to win everything because Ronaldo is there. And,
he's 36, Heath Pearce. He's 36. That's pretty. Our producer's saying, excuse me, Thiago Silva. He's a center back, Des. Calm down.